Yeah, I think just, a little undisciplined, just soft defensively. We have to be more connected as a group. I didn't feel like we were very connected as five working together, and you're going to need to help your teammates. Defense is hard, especially when they get...
Nobody inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse was prepared for what happened next. The final scoreboard showed 95-80, but that number doesn't even begin to explain the disaster that unfolded in front of a stunned home crowd. This wasn't just a loss. This was a total breakdown. A public humiliation. A warning sign so loud that even longtime Fever staff members were seen shaking their heads as fans poured toward the exits in silence. And in the center of it all stood Caitlin Clark. She came into the night carrying the pressure of a franchise, the expectations of a city, and the eyes of the entire basketball world. Every possession, every shot, every move was under the microscope. But what no one expected was that the biggest story wouldn't be her performance. It would be her explosion. Sources close to the team say Clark was furious as the Fever's rookies repeatedly made careless turnovers, missed defensive assignments, and froze under pressure while the game spiraled out of control. Coaches were yelling. Veterans were visibly frustrated. The bench looked divided. And as the lead disappeared, cameras caught Clark turning toward the sideline with a look that instantly sent fans into panic online. Then came the moment that changed everything. After the game, Caitlin stepped to the microphone, visibly angry, and delivered words many believe were aimed directly at Indiana's young players. "We can't keep babysitting mistakes." The room went cold. Now social media is exploding, insiders are leaking locker room tension, and Fever fans are asking one terrifying question. Did Caitlin Clark just turn on her own team? Because if that answer is yes, what happened behind closed doors may be even worse. To understand why Caitlin Clark allegedly snapped after the 95-80 collapse, you have to understand the pressure building for months behind the scenes. This was never just about one bad game. This was a storm that had been forming quietly inside the Indiana Fever organization, hidden behind smiles, media interviews, and preseason optimism. When Caitlin arrived in Indiana, she didn't just join a basketball team. She became the face of an entire league overnight. Sold-out arenas followed her everywhere. Television ratings exploded. Opposing teams moved games to bigger venues. Jerseys disappeared from shelves. Every road game felt like a playoff atmosphere. And with that fame came a level of pressure most players never experience in an entire career. But while the spotlight made the franchise richer, it also created tension inside the locker room. Some veterans reportedly felt the team became too centered around one player. Every question from media was about Caitlin. Every promotional campaign featured Caitlin. Every national segment focused on Caitlin's growth, Caitlin's stats, Caitlin's impact. Even when teammates played well, the headlines still found a way to circle back to her name. That kind of attention can inspire a locker room, or divide one. Then came the rookies. Indiana's front office made it clear they wanted youth, energy, and long-term development around Clark. New young players arrived with confidence, social media buzz, and expectations of immediate roles. But according to insiders, some veterans believed those minutes should be earned, not gifted. They felt the franchise was trying to fast-track chemistry instead of respecting hierarchy. Now add Caitlin Clark to the middle of that. She wasn't just trying to score and lead. She was trying to win now. Sources close to the organization say Clark's mindset entering the season was simple. Enough rebuilding, enough excuses, enough patience. She wanted structure, discipline, and playoff-level habits immediately. Every lazy pass annoyed her. Every blown rotation frustrated her. Every careless turnover felt personal. And that mindset began clashing with younger players still adjusting to the speed and pressure of the WNBA. There were whispers after practices. Moments where Clark allegedly stopped drills to correct spacing. Times when coaches had to calm tense exchanges after miscommunication during scrimmages. Sessions where veterans quietly sided with Clark while younger players felt singled out. Nothing public. Nothing explosive. But the cracks were forming. Then came the expectations. Many analysts predicted Indiana as a breakout contender. Fans believed this would be the year the Fever truly arrived. Social media pages called them dangerous. Commentators talked about deep playoff potential. The city embraced the dream. But internally, the reality was messier. The roster still had chemistry issues. Defensive communication remained inconsistent. Some players wanted bigger roles. Others feared losing minutes. And every mistake became louder because it happened next to the most watched player in women's basketball. That pressure changes people. Young players start overthinking. Veterans become territorial. Coaches feel heat from ownership. Front offices panic over optics. And superstars grow impatient when progress feels slow. Then came the night of the collapse. A home crowd expecting dominance. National attention watching closely. Caitlin trying to steady the team. And rookies, according to those around the team, making the exact mistakes she had been warning about for weeks. Turnovers. Missed assignments. Panic under pressure. The kind of errors that don't just lose games, they expose fractures. By the time the scoreboard reached 95-80, this wasn't just a defeat. It was the moment months of hidden tension finally reached the surface. And Indiana's rhythm vanished almost instantly. What had been smooth ball movement turned into chaos. One rookie guard reportedly dribbled into traffic and lost the ball on back-to-back possessions. Another hesitated on an open three, then forced a bad pass that led to an easy transition score. Defensive coverages broke down repeatedly. Dallas smelled weakness and attacked it without mercy. The arena changed. The cheers faded. Fans who had entered expecting a statement win now watched in stunned silence as the lead disappeared possession by possession. Clark checked back in and immediately looked furious. Cameras caught her clapping sharply after one blown inbound play. On another possession, she was seen throwing her hands outward after a teammate cut directly into her driving lane. At first, fans assumed it was normal competitive fire. But insiders now say it was something deeper. She believed the team was ignoring coaching instructions in real time. Then came the sequence everyone is talking about. With Indiana trailing and momentum slipping away, Clark drove hard into the paint, drew two defenders, and fired a perfect kick-out pass to a wide-open rookie in the corner. It was the kind of pass stars make to build trust. The shot rimmed out badly. On the next possession, the same player lost track of her assignment, giving up an uncontested three. Clark turned toward the bench with an icy stare. One assistant coach reportedly stepped between players during the timeout that followed. That was the first sign this wasn't just basketball frustration anymore. Veterans were visibly upset. Several were seen talking among themselves while rookies sat quietly, staring at the floor. One source described the bench atmosphere as split down the middle, with experienced players tired of repeated mistakes and younger players feeling the pressure crush them in real time. Then the shocking twist hit. According to two separate insiders, Caitlin Clark directly challenged the rookies during a timeout and said the team could not keep playing scared. The phrase spread quickly among those seated nearby. Whether exact wording or not, multiple people confirmed the message was blunt, emotional, and delivered with visible anger. That changed everything. Because now the issue wasn't missed shots. It was confidence. And once younger players start believing the star no longer trusts them, panic only grows. The final minutes turned ugly. Indiana's offense became hesitant. Players passed up open looks. Communication on defense looked broken. Veterans tried forcing shots to stop the bleeding. Clark continued pushing, but the chemistry was gone. Dallas cruised while Indiana unraveled in front of everyone. When the buzzer sounded at 95-80, Clark walked off without speaking to anyone for several moments. Cameras showed teammates trailing behind her in silence. The usual post-game encouragement was nowhere to be seen. Then came the first shocking twist no one expected. Sources now claim the coaching staff initially planned to keep the locker room closed longer than normal because emotions were so high inside. Reporters waiting outside noticed delays. Team staff moved quickly through the hallway. Raised voices were allegedly heard from behind the doors. And one name kept coming up. The rookies. Because insiders say veterans were furious that in a pressure moment, younger players froze completely, and that Clark's anger inside the room was even stronger than what fans saw publicly. But the biggest surprise was still coming. Because while everyone focused on Caitlin snapping at rookies, someone inside that locker room reportedly snapped right back. What happened once those locker room doors closed is now becoming the most talked about rumor in the WNBA. At first, team officials tried to keep everything quiet. Staff members moved in and out of the hallway with tense expressions. Reporters waiting outside were told there would be a delay before players spoke. But delays like that usually mean one thing in professional sports: something emotional is happening inside. And according to multiple people familiar with the scene, emotions were exploding. Sources say Caitlin Clark entered the room visibly furious, still carrying the frustration of the second-half collapse. She allegedly dropped her towel onto a chair, turned toward a group of younger players, and began addressing the mistakes that had buried the fever on their own floor. The message, according to insiders, was blunt: missed coverages, hesitation, careless turnovers, and a lack of urgency could not continue. Veterans reportedly stayed silent. That silence said everything. Some players looked down. Others stared ahead. One source described the room as ice cold, with nobody wanting to be the first person to speak. Clark had the floor, and everyone knew it. Then came the moment nobody expected. A rookie answered back. The identity has not been confirmed publicly, but insiders claim one younger player pushed back against Clark's criticism, saying the pressure around the team had become impossible because every mistake gets magnified whenever she is on the court. The room reportedly froze. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Because now the tension had shifted. This was no longer star player versus bad execution. This was superstar pressure versus rookie resentment. According to one witness, the rookie argued that younger players were being asked to develop while simultaneously being expected to perform like veterans under national scrutiny. Every missed shot became social media content. Every turnover became a headline. Every bad game became proof they were failing Caitlin Clark. And then came the second major twist. Instead of denying it, several younger players allegedly nodded. That changed the entire room. For weeks, many assumed the locker room divide was veterans versus rookies. But insiders now claim another fracture had quietly formed. Players who respected Clark's greatness, yet privately felt overwhelmed by the non-stop attention surrounding her. They didn't hate her. They didn't resent her success. But they were exhausted by what came with it. Every road arena cheering louder for her than for the team. Every media question centered around it can crush others. Clark reportedly fired back immediately, telling the room pressure is part of being in the WNBA and excuses don't win games. One source said she challenged everyone to decide whether they wanted to compete at the highest level or keep blaming circumstances. Veterans then began speaking up. Some sided with Clark, saying accountability was overdue. They argued talent means nothing without discipline, and too many mistakes had been repeated for weeks. Others urged calm, reminding everyone that chemistry takes time and young players need confidence, not humiliation. Now the locker room had become three separate camps. Clark and the accountability side. Rookies and the overwhelmed side. Veterans stuck in the middle trying to stop a full fracture. Coaches reportedly stepped in at that point, asking everyone to reset and focus on solutions. But the damage may already have been done. One insider described players leaving the room in total silence, avoiding eye contact as they headed toward media obligations. Then social media made everything worse. Fans noticed Clark's short answers in the press conference. Body language clips went viral within minutes. Freeze frames of rookies looking upset on the bench spread across X, TikTok, and sports pages. Rumors of a locker room confrontation began circulating before the team bus even left the arena. And then another whisper surfaced late that night. A veteran player allegedly approached management privately after the game and warned that if roles, rotations, and expectations were not clarified immediately, the situation could spiral before opening week. That is the kind of warning front offices do not ignore. Because one ugly loss can be forgotten. But a divided locker room can destroy an entire season. And now Indiana faces a terrifying possibility. Their biggest star wants urgency. Their youngest players want breathing room. Their veterans want stability. But someone inside the organization may already be choosing sides. By sunrise, the 95-80 collapse was no longer just a bad game. It had become a full-blown national storyline. Every sports page had the clips. Every debate show had an opinion. Every fan account was picking sides. And at the center of it all was Caitlin Clark, once again carrying not only the expectations of a franchise, but now the blame for a locker room reportedly tearing itself apart. The internet exploded first. One viral clip showed Clark clapping in frustration after a missed rotation. Another slowed down her stare toward the bench after a turnover. A third replayed her short post-game answers with dramatic captions claiming she had finally had enough. Within hours, hashtags connected to Indiana were trending, and comment sections became war zones. Some fans defended Clark fiercely. They argued she was right to demand accountability. They said greatness requires standards, and anyone upset by criticism was not ready for elite basketball. Many pointed to her constant effort, leadership, and the pressure she faces nightly while still producing under impossible expectations. Others saw something darker. They accused the Fever of building a team around one superstar while failing to protect younger players emotionally. They said rookies were being sacrificed under a spotlight they never asked for. Some even claimed the franchise had created a culture where fear was replacing confidence. Then former players began weighing in. Several retired WNBA voices posted cryptic messages about leadership styles, chemistry, and how public frustration can damage trust. One former All-Star wrote, "Demanding greatness matters. How you demand it matters more." Another said, "Young players don't grow when they're terrified to make mistakes." Those posts sent fans into detective mode instantly. Everyone wanted to know who they were talking about. Inside Indiana, the emotional damage was reportedly even worse. Sources close to the organization say some rookies felt humiliated after seeing clips of the night spread everywhere. They believed one ugly game had now branded them as weak links before the season had even truly begun. Confidence, already shaken during the collapse, reportedly dropped even further after the online backlash. Veterans were frustrated too, but for different reasons. Some believed the drama was distracting from actual basketball issues like rotations, spacing, and defensive communication. Others feared that if the season started badly, every setback would now become a national spectacle tied to Clark versus teammates. That pressure can poison a locker room fast. Meanwhile, Fever coaches were said to be working non-stop behind the scenes. Meetings were reportedly scheduled. Film sessions intensified. Staff members began emphasizing communication, trust, and role clarity. But insiders say there was one challenge nobody could easily fix. Trust had been cracked in public. And once trust breaks publicly, every interaction gets questioned. If Clark gives instructions, is it leadership or frustration? If a rookie misses a shot, is she pressing mentally? If a veteran gets more minutes, is management choosing sides? Even routine basketball moments now carried emotional weight. Then came another layer of fallout no one could ignore. League executives and broadcast partners were watching closely. Caitlin Clark drives ratings, attention, and headlines. The Fever were supposed to be one of the league's marquee stories. But internal dysfunction before opening stretch games threatens not just Indiana's momentum, but one of the WNBA's biggest commercial engines. That means pressure from above may now be growing too. Win quickly. Fix chemistry. Control that revelation stunned insiders. Because if players are no longer only frustrated with each other, but beginning to doubt leadership, then the Fever are dealing with something far more dangerous than one emotional night. They are dealing with instability. One source close to the team described the current mood as everybody waiting to see what happens next. That kind of atmosphere is toxic. It means players stop speaking freely. It means mistakes feel heavier. It means every substitution, every timeout, every comment gets interpreted as politics. And then came the most shocking twist of all. A veteran player allegedly pulled Caitlin Clark aside after the game and told her privately that while many agreed with her message, they feared the way it came out would create wounds that wouldn't heal quickly. That reportedly hit Clark hard. Because for all the headlines calling her angry, demanding, or explosive, people close to her say she desperately wants to win and hates losing more than she hates criticism. She does not want division. She wants urgency. She does not want drama. She wants standards. But in high-pressure locker rooms, intentions don't always matter. Impact does. Now the Fever enter a terrifying stretch. Every practice will be tense. Every rookie touch will be analyzed. Every missed rotation will look personal. Every Clark reaction will become viral content. And if Indiana loses again, the noise may become unbearable. Some insiders believe management is now considering a dramatic move to stabilize the room before opening month, possibly adjusting rotations, reducing rookie minutes, or elevating a veteran voice into a stronger leadership role. Others say front office members want patience and believe one emotional night should not reshape long-term plans. But that split itself reveals the danger. Even decision-makers may not agree on the path forward. Meanwhile, opposing teams are watching closely. Rivals know talent can win games, but fractured chemistry can lose seasons. If opponents sense Indiana is emotionally fragile, they will test them physically, trap Clark relentlessly, and force everyone else to respond under pressure. That is where this story becomes bigger than one team. Because Caitlin Clark was supposed to lead the next era of women's basketball dominance. Instead, she may now be entering the most difficult challenge of her career. Not scoring, not fame, not criticism. Leadership in chaos. Can she unite a locker room already feeling exposed? Can rookies recover confidence after being blamed publicly? Can coaches regain authority before cracks deepen? Can veterans stop choosing sides? Or has the collapse already triggered something no one can control? One executive reportedly said late last night, "The next 2 games will tell us everything." And that sentence should terrify Indiana fans. Because if the Fever come out flat again, this won't be remembered as a preseason meltdown. It will be remembered as the night the season started falling apart. Now the entire WNBA world is watching Indiana like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Caitlin Clark has already delivered her message. The rookies have already